Quiz time here on Way of the Master Radio. The first documented use of the word teenager was A. Tyndale's first edition English New Testament in 1526 was the first use of the word teenager. Shakespeare's Romeo and Juliet in 1623. C. Benjamin Franklin's Poor Richard's Almanac in 1739. D. Theodore Roosevelt's strenuous life speech in 1899, or E, a Reader's Digest issue in 1941. Your answer is?
Tyndale.
No, sir, a Reader's Digest issue in 1941.
My answer is more spiritual, though.
Teenager, yes, it is. The answer, that's right, teenager from 70 years ago. Prior to the early 20th century and throughout history, people were either children or adults. Family and work were the primary occupations of the group we now call teenagers. In fact, in 1900, only 1 out of 10 American young people between 14 and 17 years old attended high school. Whoa. What's changed? I think we'd agree something's changed. That children, I'm trying to recall if it was Thomas Jefferson or John Adams, one of the two, was an ambassador to France at the age of 13. What? We just hear that and we go, there's no way. It was not uncommon for young people, teenagers, to be working. In fact, that was the norm. To be supporting families, to be contributing. Bible times, Mary could have been between the age of 13 and 15 years old. Getting married. Teenager. New concept and seemingly a new low and a new expectation that teenagers live a coddled life throughout those pubescent years until they're ready to sort of fly the nest, maybe a little in college, a lot of them are coming home these days, and they're acting, frankly, like little babies. What's changed? There's a new book, Do Hard Things, a teenage rebellion against low expectations. We first heard about this, and we were intrigued. And then we discovered that the two guys who wrote it, Alex and Brett Harris, are the little brothers of Josh Harris. I kissed dating goodbye, and we went, we want to talk to these boys. And so they're with us right now on Way of the Master Radio. Gentlemen, we thank you very much for being with us.
Well, it's great to be on with you.
All right, here's what I want you to do before we jump into what you're calling teens to do and be these days, fellas. Have you done a study in this? How did the attitude toward teenagers change so radically over the course of 100 years?
Well, it really involves a whole lot of things. There was a lot of psychological new theories that were really developed in the early 1900s, a lot of them based on Darwinian evolution. Really the father of the modern concept of adolescence took a lot of his ideas from Darwinian concept that you relive the evolutionary stages as you grow throughout your life. So the teen years were viewed as your caveman years, which is highly insulting to young people. But that was actually the way some psychologists who were very influential in psychology in the early 1900s thought about these years.
Am I talking to Alex or Brett right now?
Yeah, this is Alex right now.
Okay, Alex. What you're saying, a lot of people are going, what are you talking about? Just spend a few more seconds on describing what that is, because most people do not have an understanding of what you're describing.
Sure. Well, this is a theory, and I'm not remembering the exact name for it. That's not held by any respectable scientist today, but at the time was very influential in shaping how we view the teen years today, and people don't understand that. And that is that young people, or all people, relive the evolutionary stages as they go through life. And so the teen years were viewed as the caveman years. And that's why we have these ideas of the teen years as full of angst and full of turmoil. And that's one part of it.
And they drag each other around by the hair. But it also, if I'm not mistaken, Alex, started they thought that we processed through the evolutionary stages in the womb also.
Right, and that was the original concept. But then it was taken and applied not just to the embryo in the womb, but applied to the actual living out of life outside the womb as well. And that was part of the developing of this theory. And really, that shaped how we view teens even today.
And also the segregation in classrooms. Until that time, the concept of first, second, third, fourth, fifth grade, no, all together, older people mentoring the younger people striving to be like the older, and now we've got a bunch of 4-year-olds being disciplined by 4-year-olds and having role models that are 4-year-olds. And with that, it certainly seems, I think you're right on the button in tying this into Darwinian evolution in a social sense. With that, teenagers are acting less mature. Now, in your book, Do Hard Things, a teenage rebellion against low expectations. The attitude, we've got to agree on this premise, that our expectations for teens are low. Alex, what are you calling teenagers to do or be?
Well, we are calling young people to rethink the way they view the teen years. That's where it has to start. Right now, our society views the teen years as really a vacation from responsibility, a time when maturity and responsibility is not expected. In fact, we expect the opposite of young people. And so what we're calling young people to do is to rethink and to rediscover the teen years, not as a vacation, but as the launching pad of life, as the training ground for life. And that, historically and biblically, is what the teen years are really all about.
All right, now, I want examples, all right? Because this isn't just, so get a scholarship to Harvard. You talk about a teenager finding delight and finding a sense of big in doing small things, like?
Well, this is Brett speaking. I'll jump in.
Hi.
We really are calling young people to do all sorts of different things. You know, we go through in the book 5 kinds of hard, and these are the categories that we're calling young people to throw themselves into. That's things that, take you outside your comfort zone, things that go beyond what's expected or required, things that are too big to do alone, things that don't pay off immediately, that small hard things, and finally, things that go against the flow. And under each of those categories, we share, tons of stories, tons of examples, and these are of ordinary young people. The small things are, those small, faithful, things like reading your Bible every day, honoring your father and your mother. That might be a big thing. Keeping your room clean. It can go as small as that. But the idea is that these small things are, individual push-ups, giving us the muscle to do those bigger things that God's called us to do in the future.
That's one reason right there, Brett. Let's focus on that one. Keeping your room clean, a tedious, difficult chore for a teenager. Tell any teenager who's listening, there's about 4, why should they keep their room clean every day? Besides obedience and honoring parents and God, clearly, it's developing small muscles for bigger things. Anything else involved?
Well, I'm not an expert on keeping my room clean, but here's what I would say.
See.
So here's what I would say.
Then, young man, when this interview is done, on behalf of your parents, get it cleaned up.
I will.
All
yes,
right.
sir.
Yes,
no,
sir.
but the one of the things our Father has told us is that your room is your your territory. It's the place where your character is displayed. And so if you're careless and you're messy, that's your character coming out, because that's the area you're responsible for. And so as teenagers preparing for the rest of our lives, the way we keep our room right now is probably going to reflect how we're going to keep our house and our property and our car and all the other things that we're eventually going to have later down the road. And so I guess if there was another reason, it is preparation. The teen years are the launching pad of life. The habits, the character that we have right now is going to affect us for the rest of our lives.
I like the small parts of your book, where it's focusing on the small things, because I think everybody kind of gets the bennies of the big things. It makes sense. I read a lot of books. I learn a lot of stuff. I maybe get a higher GPA. I go to a better school. I get a better job. I make more money. But I love how you focus in on things like being kind to your little monster brother or sister. Right?
Well, exactly. The big hard things, and I don't want to diminish those. The big hard things, which are not simply getting better grades and going to a better school. Those are important, and we need to build our muscles up so we can accomplish those things. But the small hard things are those things that everybody is called to do, and that you have to be faithful in. If you're not faithful over little, you're never going to be put over much, like Jesus says. And so those small things, that's where true character is shown, because you don't get pats on the back. You don't get in the headlines of the newspaper, boy keeps his room clean for 2 weeks straight. It just doesn't happen. Those are the things that are between you and God, between you and your family, and you have to be faithful. You have to have character in order to be consistent and show excellence in those very small but very important things.